Hey fellas, your commissioner here, coming at ya for a little week nine of NFL action. I've been depriving y'all of my. I think the London games are done, the England games are done, unfortunately. So, quite sorry about missing that one, you chaps. So I'll just give you a little taste. It's quite a bugger, isn't it? To miss something that I know all of you look so much forward to, and you to enjoy your tea and your crumpets. As you can see, see, I'm losing it already. Clearly, the British accent hasn't gotten any better, has it? Harry Potter, huh? Excuse me. Anyways, new location yet again. There's quite the echo in here. Hopefully that doesn't really play havoc on the recording. New house. Who dis? You can see the telly there. Obviously the garage is still full of a lot of stuff, so having to park it out on the driveway like a poor. I'll give y'all a tour of the house before season end. This is just my little man cave still coming together. I'll show you it just real quickly. PS5, the Switch, the Portal, all that. Front of the house. It's a little sneak peek. There's my little couch there. Gonna get a new one of those soon. But anyways. We'll see. I obviously kind of want the house to be a little bit more of a finished product. It's still a little bit of a mess at the moment. We did finally close yesterday, over 2 weeks later than what we were supposed to do, so that was exciting. Hopefully you're not going to get kicked out of our house. There's something that's like raining. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's this lamp or what. Anyway, whatever. So as I was trying to figure out what the game of the week was, I noticed only 4 views on last week's video. Came out on time. Obviously coming off the heels of the first ever missed State of the Union since I've been doing these on a weekly basis. Clearly you guys are telling me, hey, we felt some type of way about it. I get it. I understand. Again, I don't have to do this stuff, right? As soon as I got home, I hadn't eaten all day, I hadn't taken lunch, It's like, I don't want to do this. I had to ate some food, feel energized, ready to do this now. Definitely got other stuff to do. I really need to shave. I'm looking like shit, kind of, especially with my best white shirt on and all that. But anyways, I'm all over the place, right? Watch the videos, please. I know the power rankings have been missing the last 2 weeks as well. Been issues with that. I haven't really loved the engagement that we've had with the power rankings this season all too often. It's just been, they kind of come and go. I mean, this shit takes, 45 minutes to an hour of my day, right? I mean, I'm putting serious time and energy into this. And, hey, if you guys don't want it or need it or care about it, that's fine. It can be a monthly thing, maybe. It could be maybe the weekly kind of loses some of its piss. I don't know. But I do intend to do them this week to bring them back, but we'll see. Like I said, I need the engagement. I don't do this for my own, shits and giggles, right? I do this because I hope that you guys are getting some benefit and some enjoyment out of it, right? If you guys aren't, then why am I doing it? Right? You know what I mean? So, anyway, Hogs beat that ass this week. Biggest win against the SEC opponent in a decade plus, I think. That was exciting to see. I was kind of worried that it might have been a trap game for us. Mississippi State had to kind of hunt around with some other teams. We kind of let off the gas a little bit in the second half, let them get back into it, but pretty much could score at will. So that was exciting. That was fun to see. And without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into a recap of last week's games. We'll start off with the Pringles game of the week. The Dirty Birds of War versus Doesn't Contribute. And it was it was a pretty high scoring matchup, maybe the highest scoring matchup of any matchup we had this week. 184 to 147. Plunk asserts his dominance over Craig to get to 6-2. Craig goes to 5-3. It's going to be the beginning of a losing streak to get back to 500. That'd be curious. But yeah, I mean, Plunk's team is scary. I mean, Jalen Hurts had 3 1-yard touchdowns, less than a yard touchdowns. It's whatever. I feel bad for Saquon, to be honest. Jalen's been pretty selfish. I truly believe that Saquon could just as easily have scored all of those touchdowns that Hurts is getting. But that's kind of his stick, right? It's kind of his thing, right? I mean, you take those away, right? It's 18 points. I mean, that cuts his number down to below 30 points. That's really where his production is coming from, is the rushing touchdowns. If he's not getting the rushing touchdowns, he's not really having that good of a time. But he is. Mixon continues to be a monster. Another 25-point game from him since he's been back. I mean, 28, 28, 25. They're just going to keep feeding him with all the wide receiver injuries they have. Achane with Tua back at the reins, back to being a monster, 30 points, just a touch monster, super efficient. JJ great, Malik solid, London a little bit disappointing, McBride, he's been on a pretty good stretch here. And Kareem, of course, 15 points out of your flex, you're going to love that. A little bit of a downtick from what he's done the previous couple of games for him. But, Connor's bench is non-existent, but his starting lineup is arguably the best in the league when it's clicking. Is this a flawless team? No. Jalen Hurts has his problems. Achane very well could get hurt again. London has had his hot streak. Now he's kind of cooled a little bit. Kareem, how long can he really keep it up? So there's question marks with Connor, right? I don't want to crown his ass, but he's definitely one of the top contenders for a title. I don't think there's any denying that. I mean, this guy's averaging 150 points a game, right? For Craig, pretty good week from him. I mean, almost 150. Josh Allen has been performing pretty well. Zay, had a nice bounce back game. Kyron just continues 5 catches for 19 yards. What is he, Wan'Dale Robinson? He's averaging 20 points a game. Pretty damn good. I mean, he's RB5 on the season. James Conner had a pretty solid game too. He just continues to be a workhorse there, inefficient, but the only guy getting any touches, and he hasn't broken down yet. So time will tell if he will or not. But a solid team from Craig. Again, bench. That's most guys, right? I mean, the bench. You don't want to ever have to rely on any of the guys on his bench, but. He's still got one of the top 5, top 4 probably starting lineups in the league. So next we'll go with keeping the faith versus the father figures. Only one team under 100 points this week, by the way, fellas. Good job there. Good bounce back. I win 163 to 137. Certainly couldn't have predicted this. Going into the weekend, I mean, I was down bad. I lost Chris Godwin. DK was banged up, wasn't going to play. Still no McCaffrey. I'm having to start Hunter Henry. I'm having to start Jerry Jeudy. I'm having to start Cortland Sutton, and just hope and pray for the best. At least I got JT back. He had a really great game. Baker continues, no Evans, no Godwin, no problem. Still got 35 points. Bucky's been really, really good this season. I'd argue one of the steals of the draft. He's on a good little hot streak, 20 points, 18 and 17 the last 3 weeks. Obviously, McConkey, the breaking that touchdown really kind of helped won this game for me. He had a 60-yard something touchdown, mossed a guy. cross-cut the field, juked a couple guys. He is good, and I need him to continue to be good. Sutton, a great bounce back game from him after giving a gooser a couple weeks ago. Judy was okay. The lowest scoring of the 4 pass catchers on the Browns, which is a little concerning for me. Elijah Moore had more, Njoku had more, Tillman had more, but still got 15 points, so still had 8 targets. James is still going to sling that thing, so just hopefully he can get a touchdown one of these. The touchdown Njoku got, great contested to catch from Njoku. Judy beat his guy. He was wide open. He was much easier to throw, but whatever. I benched Tyrone. He had a great game. Now he's got a Now he's concussed. So that's fun. And for Ford, really the 137 is kind of inflated by CD garbage time. CD had 43 points. Obviously that would help boost Dak's numbers as well. There was a very real reality where after the first half, Ford was going to be lucky to crack 100 points. And then the Niners, like they always do, let off the gas and decided to just play shell and not cover CeeDee Lamb for just 2 drives in a row. They finally figured that out and stopped it. Otherwise, this is much closer than it should have been. But I think Ford still got a solid team. Obviously Devontae had one of his best games of the season. Saw that coming. I said he was going to have a 30-point game. He had a bounce back from his shit performance last week. And, sure enough, 22. Ferguson, a little underwhelming for him. He's been pretty disappointing this season, especially the last few weeks. Obviously, Pittman, A-Rich was like 3 of 25 passing, so Ford's pretty lucky. Honestly lucky that he didn't get a gooser from him. And Ford's got some good guys on them. Keon Coleman's been playing pretty well. McLaughlin's been playing pretty okay. Ertz has been playing pretty good as well. You got to wonder if Ford will start changing up the lineup because as Ford, it seems like almost every season, Ford goes on these long losing streaks. He's currently on a 3-game losing streak to fall to 3-5 after being at one point 3-2. So he's got the guys, I think. But how much longer can you have faith in Dak, right? It's almost, to me, this is eerily similar of my situation between Tua and Tyreek last year. Tua wasn't bad, he was serviceable enough, but he wasn't making a difference. He wasn't making a difference enough to be able to help me win games, and I think that's kind of where the same boat, and Tyreek was having great numbers. Tyreek was like wide receiver 1, right? But Tua's numbers weren't really, supporting that because they just, they kept running the ball all the time. Mostert got all the touchdowns last year, so come on, get back in focus. For Ford, I think, do I have a quarterback controversy? He's got no other quarterbacks on his roster currently. He's got at least a couple guys that could be and should be cut. But we'll see. Sticking with him for now. If Dak can't get right against Atlanta, I think he needs to have a really serious conversation with them. So, anyways, I've won 2 in a row to get to 3-5. Huge win. I think I'm 6th now in the league in points, but still wouldn't be in the playoffs at that 6th slot. Wilson is 5th in the league in points. So he would get that 6th slot. We had Nick kind of hanging around. Get to him in a minute. Now JD's kind of hanging around on life support, but we'll get to them when we get to them. Next, we got the Swamp Donkeys and the Golden Path. Blaine is on a 3-game win streak to get from 1-4 to 4-4. The 4th most points scored in the league, I believe. The hottest team, personally, I think, in the league right now. Hawk had that mantle a few weeks ago, and now Blaine has fully taken the reins of that. I mean, this guy has scored over the last 3 weeks. He has scored 157, 156, and now 161 to 122 against the Golden Path. Who falls to 2-6, the gutter basement of the league standings currently. I believe he is 12th in points for as well, if I'm not mistaken. He is, not by a large margin, but dead last in points for. Does he have the most points against? I think he's got the fourth most points against-ish, so not a good recipe there. Not a good recipe at all. Blaine's found his quarterback. He went away from Mahomes. It was the right decision. Kirk has been playing pretty well. Obviously, he had his best game that he's had on Blaine's team. 4 touchdowns against the Bucs, 38 points. Bijan's been playing really well. Montgomery, very dependable. That's his name, Mr. Dependable. He's got Puka back. Puka's supposed to be limited. Just came back to a ho-hum. 7 catches, 106 yards. Of his 7 catches, 6 of those were for first downs. I mean, that's 3 extra points. That can make the difference in these close games. Not that this one was, but, Worthy, continues always to be a touchdown threat. Amon-Ra didn't really need him this week. And Njoku is like the guy, it looks like, in Cleveland. And Najee just continues to be extremely reliable. I mean, 22, 17, 18 the last 3 weeks to help kind of get Blaine in this position that he's in. And, on the bench, he still has Patrick Mahomes. He has Tank Bigsby. He has a good handcuff in Charbonnet. T. Higgins, if he ever decides that he wants to play football again, was playing really, really well. And a couple other guys. But, Blaine's team, I think, honestly, it's easily with a healthy T. Higgins and a wants to play football T. Higgins, I mean, he's got the second best, arguably maybe the first 1A, 1B, him and Connor rosters in the league. And I don't know how these guys just keep getting away with it. I don't know. I don't get it. It's obviously a big, what does that say about us? We can't prevent this from happening year after year after year for the last fucking 5 years, these two guys. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. I want somebody to rise up and put a stop to this shit, please. So I got this big ass dog. It's just this kid's just outside, just staring at me out the window. Walking his dog. Probably let his dog just take a big old shit in our yard. So what are you gonna do? But and for Savoy, I mean, bounce back game a little bit, right? Definitely should have taken the under. I was too scared. The money's tight. The money fab is tight, right? Real life money's tight. This fab money's tight. I just get, I was too scared to put my money where my mouth is. He clearly, he was 20 points, 25 points almost under his projection. Stroud has just been mid this season. But of course, he couldn't start Jaden with him being up in the air. Without that Hail Mary at the end, Jaden wouldn't have, maybe would have had about 4 or 5 more points more than CJ. So you kind of got to throw that 34-point fluke, in my opinion, out the window. JK continues to be really, really good. James Cook, great game. Of course, no longer on his team. Diggs, unfortunately, tore his ACL. Adams and Hopkins really haven't gelled yet, still getting accustomed to their new teams. And Ingram, kind of a little bit up and down. Mason is done. He's done for the rest of the season. Irrelevant. So you really got to wonder what's going to be the flex, right? He's got Olave. He kept Olave on the bench. Olave had 21 points. Obviously he has no choice but to be starting Olave. On paper, he's got a solid team. He's got a better than a 2-6 team, right? They're just not playing like that right now. And they might not play like that the rest of the season. They might keep playing like this the rest of the season. So, you hate to see it. Right up there on top of the list of things you hate to see is this. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Next here, we got Flo's Fury versus the Two-Tone Hog Mollies. Wilson kind of bounces back there, gets back to 500, wins 131 to 105, puts Nick on a 2-game losing streak to fall to 4-4. Nick still has the second least amount of points scored against him. He has the third lowest point total so far on the season. Just not really a very good team, Nick. Caleb obviously struggled mightily. The Commanders' defense is not what they were the first month of the season. I'm just telling you that now. If you haven't been paying attention, hear it from me. A little insider tip. They cannot be abused to the level that they were being abused of in the passing game earlier on in the season. They've figured something out. They've made some great adjustments, and they are playing some better and more stout defense. Brian Robinson, ho-hum from him. Chase Brown, gets a touchdown. Otherwise, a pretty pedestrian stat line. Without the touchdown, he's almost barely cracked 6 points. But Garrett Wilson continues to kind of come on. Him and A-Raj seem to be having quite the rapport the last several weeks. Obviously, Tank Dell no longer on the team. Jaden Reed has been a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde. He's been kind of Houdini these last few weeks as Romeo Dobbs has kind of emerged. But he's got Tucker Kraft, who's been sneakily one of the better tight ends over the last month. And Jalen Waddle, didn't do really anything much of the game. I mean, Waddle's best game was back in week 1, 18 points. Other than that, he hasn't cracked 10. But maybe with Tua back, that might see a little bit more production. But I don't know. It's I think Waddle might be kind of just a guy at the end of the day, right? So, but he's got good. He's got Tillman on the bench. He benched Marvin Harrison, scared of the Jalen Ramsey matchup. He's got Andrews on the bench. I mean, it's almost like Nick he's just trying to be too smart for he's too smart for his own good, right? I think this has kind of been a theme for Nick this season, is constantly leaving players on the bench that outperform. And that's honestly one of the downsides to having a deep bench. And Nick arguably has the deepest bench in the league. But it makes it that much more crucial to be making the right decisions because, you don't make the right decision, this is what happens, right? With his best lineup, he would have beaten Wilson this week. He didn't put his best lineup together, and this is what happens. So, and for Wilson, good for him. Lamar, I mean, again, Saquon had no touchdowns, still had 15 points. Easily should have been at 30 points, I think, or 12. At least in the mid 20s. If Hurts wasn't such a selfish player. Swift continues to just be, career year for him. Mooney, career year. Keenan, not great. Lockett, not good. Laporta finally had his first good game of the season, really. I mean, I guess he's had a couple double-digit games, but this is his best game of the season. So maybe, hopefully, a sign of things to come for him, because he's certainly disappointed thus far. And then Debo was okay, coming back from pneumonia. Didn't really need him, but yeah, but Eli Moore on the bench, Conklin, Mike Evans obviously out for the next couple of weeks, hurts, but Chubb at 16 carries, against one of the better run defenses in the league, so you got to think maybe he could go 3 running backs there and kind of just cobble something together at the wide receiver room for the time being, putting in Eli Moore, putting in Debo, and Mooney. You could do worse. So, I think Wilson's definitely still a contender, a fringe playoff team. Nick, can he do it? He used to be one of the best in-season managers we've ever had. But he's, this year seems to be a real struggle for him. And it's like he had probably one of his better drafts, and now he's struggling with the in-season management. Whenever he has bad drafts, he has great in-season management. It's almost like he can't have both, right? Must have been part of the deal with the devil that he made. So, Anyway, next here we got the Kickers Lives Matter. Huge win for Duncan to put him on a 2-game winning streak to get to 4-4. 194 to 112 drops JD to 5-3. I'm sorry, just a 1-game losing streak for him. JD's definitely been a little bit up and down this season. He had a really good game last week. 2 weeks ago, he had 78 points. 3 weeks ago, back in the 128s, 141, 142. But he's had some stinkers, right? He's had some stinkers. He just kind of ran to a buzzsaw, right? I mean, nobody in the league who was playing Duncan was going to beat Duncan this week. His whole team went off. Purdy had a great game. Jacobs had a great game. Stevenson had a great game. McLaurin had a great game. I mean, 34, 27, 25, 20, 15, 16, 26, 30. He went double-barrel tight end, and it worked out tremendously on National Tight Ends Day. Kelsey had his best game of the season. Auden had his best game of maybe his career. That was a huge pickup for Duncan to get Cade Auden a few weeks ago. I think it's really going to pay dividends for him over these next few weeks, especially with Mike Evans out. Definitely going to be the safety blanket that Baker is relying on. A little bit of a disappointment for Tyreek and Tua's return, only getting 15 points. But you got to think brighter days are definitely ahead for him. Don't look now. I mean, Duncan might fuck around and do something here. And I mean, Calvin Ridley finally got going a little bit. Jacoby Myers had a good game. Maybe he's getting going a little bit. He's looking pretty good. He's looking dangerous. Now, Brian Thomas is dinged up. I don't know what's coming out of some of these injuries. Brian Thomas was out 2 to 4 weeks, and then the next day he's day to day and might play this week. Which is it, guys? I mean, Schefter is reporting this fast and loose, and I think he's losing his fastball. He's just getting a lot of false information. Maybe he's getting the facts, and it's the Jaguars that are lying about him being day to day. I don't know, but time will tell. But I mean, it's quite peculiar to me. So, good for Duncan. I mean, he's got a really solid team, really good potential up and down. Obviously Purdy's been a pretty number 5 quarterback on the season. I obviously should have held on to him. He's not scored below 24 points, 23 points since week 1, and had plenty of 30-point games mixed between there. I was just scared, I was scared. And granted, Baker's been great for me. Baker's been even better, right? If I just play him all the time, which I haven't. But he's made the right pickups. Purdy, obviously, and Auden, coupled with some good picks with the BTJ pick and Stevenson, Jacobs. So good for Duncan. And for JD, Kyler had a pretty good game. It's only a matter of time. Black Ops 6 came out. Only a matter of time until that production goes down. But Gibbs, great. Aaron Jones was pretty good. DJ's kind of been, kind of mid in the last few weeks. Definitely a kind of just a wide receiver too. Amari came crashing back down to reality after a great debut in Buffalo. I think that might be a little bit up and down with that offense, I'm sure. But Dobbs, has been really good for JD as a wide receiver 3 flex guy. Shakir, great game. Freiermuth has been disappointment. JD's one of those teams that just he doesn't really have a consistent, reliable tight end. Which Freiermuth had been fine the last few weeks. No, he hadn't. But he's got Hawkinson maybe coming back, so hopefully that will remedy that situation. But and Rachaad White, he's back in the mix a little bit. I mean, 31 points, 16 points the last couple weeks. I mean, he is playable as a flex guy for sure, especially with all the injuries on that team. So And then finally, our throw up all over themselves, dog shit, piss on himself, going nonverbal team of the week. All you need is love. 93.3 points. The only team below 100 points this week. He falls 136 to 93.3 to Hawk. Hawk gets to 5-3. A good bounce back game from him after falling last week. Rip is now I think he's only lost he's lost one in a row now to get to 3-5. He has the second lowest amount of points scored this season, and the lowest amount of points against. That is the only reason he does not have only 1 or 2 wins this season. This guy, I mean, he's got a great defense, guys. What can I say? His negative point differential. But fortunately for the rest of us, he's not having the same bullshit luck where he had a negative 100 point differential and was winning games, right? So, Jordan Love, not good, 11 points. I'm sure he'll bounce back, but he pulled his groin. He seems like he's maybe a little bit injury prone. Breece Hall, after looking like maybe they were going to start feeding him a little bit more. No, psych, just kidding. Chuba, has kind of just been a very mid running back too. Watson, Christian, he's just a jag. But Cup is back. He's good. It's amazing to me. Stafford only throws to Cup and Puka. That's it. So that's going to be good for Rip. Addison doesn't want to be in Minnesota anymore. He's been pretty bad. Kyle Pitts got 2 touchdowns. So again, it's like Kyle Pitts doesn't catch touchdowns. One of those honestly shouldn't have probably been a touchdown. So you throw that out. This guy's below 90 this week, and Sterling, the big free agent acquisition from last week, scored a whopping 5 points. But ETN might be coming back soon. But again, ETN might be Cuck City. I'm sure he's still going to play. He's going to get in the mix. But I just don't know how you can give him any sort of relevant workload when Tank's been playing the way that he's been playing. Jameson Williams, obviously bad boys. What you going to do? Suspended. Isaiah Likely, good luck guessing whenever he's going to have production to be able to play. So, excuse me. And like I said, for Hawk, good bounce back. Just a good 136, very good, solid, above average week. Burrow, was okay, not really great. Burrow's not really been an elite option the last couple of weeks here. He's kind of been buoyed by a couple of monster games. But other than that, he's been kind of middle of the road. King Henry, not a great game, but still gets himself a touchdown to kind of salvage his day. Mostert had 2 tutties. Chase, kind of the only show in town, had a pretty good game. Pickens just missed out on having 2 different touchdowns. That was tough to see for Hawk. Bateman, of course, came crashing back down to reality. Kittle continues to be the number 1 tight end in fantasy. Just don't know how he's doing it. He hasn't broken down yet this season either. And Leggett might be the new number 1 wide receiver in town. So we'll see. He's got a solid bench too. He's got Darnold down there. Singletary might be a good spot start this week if Tracy's out with concussion. Josh Downs is great with Flacco now as a starting quarterback. I think Josh Downs probably shouldn't be leaving his lineup the rest of the season. Again, Hawks got a very solid team. He's going to win several more games. He's probably, I think, pretty firmly I feel pretty good about having him be a playoff team in his first season back. But for JD, I think he just needs to get healthy, right? He needs Nico back. He needs Hawkinson healthy and performing at the level that he was before he tore his ACL last year. He needs to make a couple little better tweaks maybe to his roster, but he's still got a good team, right? JD is still definitely in the mix, a contender to be a playoff team, in my opinion. So, I'm sorry. I already talked about JD. I got off. Rip's not a playoff team, in my opinion. I don't think he's going to get anywhere close. Shouldn't get anywhere close to the playoffs. That's that. So I don't even know how I got off that. Whatever. What is I talking about? That's kind of scary. Yeah, I just flipped on that and didn't even realize. Wow. Yeah. Woo. Getting old, fellas. Anyways, another sicko waiver wire run. Just ridiculous. I mean, 9 guys got picked up. You know, Gabe Davis, 25 fab. Not a single other bidder for him. Goes to Hawk. Duncan drops a bunch of fab on Matt Stafford. Drops Algier, 19 fab. Hawk picked up Dalton Schultz for 10. Craig was in for 1 on him. JD got Darius Slayton for 7. I was only in for 1 on him, but my roster was full already. Nick picks up Bo Nix, drops Tua for 7. No other bids on him. I mean, really, there weren't any other bids that were really, relevant. There wasn't. We were all just competing against each other for the most part. I picked up Parker Washington for 3. Slot guy, maybe. We'll see. He had 1 good game, I think, last season when Christian missed some time, or a couple of seasons ago. I can't remember. Last season. Adam Thielen to Plunk for 2 fab. I think that might be one of the better pickups of the week. Seems like Connor just keeps getting away with it, right? I mean, it's a cream hunt, in my opinion. kind of pickup. Nick picks up Kamani Vidal for 2, and Craig picked up Jalen Coker for 1. So, anyways, let's go ahead here, get into a preview of this week's matchups. We'll start off with what's going to be the game of the week. Yeah, we'll do that one. We'll start off with Swamp Donkeys versus Keeping the Faith. Blaine's projected to win 155 to 141. My lineup still is not really set. I probably make a couple little tweaks here and there. Maybe change quarterbacks. Maybe wide receiver. I don't know. Blaine is pretty much fully loaded. He's down Najee on bye. But other than that, his team is ramped up, ready to go. He's rolling with Patty Mahomes this week, unfortunately. So my fate, and Xavier Worthy. So my fate comes down to Monday night. That's probably why I'm going to counter with a Monday night quarterback of my own. I'll probably end up putting Baker in. That being said, I think I'm due for a letdown after last week's kind of miraculous performance, to be quite honest. I think Blaine is the best team in the league, and now typically, Hawk was one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest team, coming in whenever he played me, and he ran into a little bit of bad luck. I believe Savoy maybe a couple years ago, I beat him whenever he was playing really well. It just seems to be, whenever the hot teams come to town, that they struggle a little bit. That being said, Blaine's a back-to-back champion. I don't see he's got that struggle in him, and I'm going to go with Blaine in that one. Next, we got the Flows Fury versus Doesn't Contribute. Craig's projected to win 160 to 144. A lot of really tough matchups for Craig this week. I'm going to go with Wilson in that one. I think, like I said, it'd be really funny to see Craig go on a 3-game losing streak to fall back to 500. I just think that'd be very on brand for him. Wilson. Next, you got All You Need Is Love versus the Golden Path. The 2 dumpster diving teams probably should have been the game of the week. The 2 dog shit teams of the season thus far. That being said, I like Savoy's team. 149 is way too much, in my opinion, still for him. We had a trade. It happens so rarely. Savoy sent James Cook to the Hog Mollies for Tony Pollard and Tank Dell. A little 2-for-1. Nick got probably arguably the best player in the deal, but now Tank is the only guy really in town for the next week or two. But we'll see. That offense just isn't clicking quite the same as it was last year. So, that being said, excuse me, Tony Pollard, 16 points. Has he been touching that? I guess he had. The Titans are just so irrelevant and out of my mind. Tony Pollard's actually been having a pretty good year. I mean, honestly, he's only had 2 games in single digits. Outside of that, I mean, he's averaging 19 points a game. So, that damn good for him. Good for him. Yeah, I think this move that Savoy made really helped kind of solidify him. I think Savoy's gonna put Rip in his place this week and get the W. Next, we got the father figures and the McCockners. Ford's projected to win 161. Holy shit! So 145. I mean, he's got some good matchups, but 161. That's a lot. That's might be one of the highest projections I've seen this season. I'll go with Ford to bust his losing streak. We'll go with Ford in that one. Next, penultimate matchup. Jesus Christ. Talk about 173. The Dirty Birds to beat Living on Burrow Time 139. God damn, man. 173. Woo. That is enticing to take the under in. I mean, that's tough to do. I know he's done it. He's averaging 150 points a game, but whew, I might not be able to resist. That might be a max. Oof. Do a little parlay, maybe. Ford and Plunks unders. What would that pay out? Plus 500? Why not? Man. Yeah, I do think Connor's going to keep rolling. I do think he's going to win that one. But and then that brings us to our game of the week, our Skittles. Is this thing on? How do you turn this on? Where's it go? No. I got a lamp here, but I don't know how to turn it on. Okay, whatever. Fuck it. Our Skittles game of the week. Skittles original flavor. It's got natural and artificial flavors. Feel the rainbow, taste the rainbow. I don't know what else I really need to be the rainbow, right? It's 2024. Be whoever you want to be. Connor, right? Be the rainbow. Grape, lime, lemon, strawberry, and orange. Honestly, I'm probably this is probably a bad opinion, but I really don't like 3 out of the 5 flavors. I don't really like the lime. I don't like the lemon. I don't really like the orange. I was very disappointed whenever they took away green apple. I know green apple, a lot of people hate that flavor, but I was much more of a fan of these whenever the green was green apple for a very brief period of time versus whenever they changed it back to lime. So anyway, Skittles, the official bite-sized candy of the Bring That Wood Fantasy Football League. And you already know what's about to happen here, fellas. Cheers. Tastes like rainbow. All right. So, game of the week. Two-tone hog mollies. Figures lives matter. 2 teams 4-4. Right next to each other in the standings. All right. Duncan is projected to win 147 to 141. Battle of the quarterback. You got Caleb Williams versus Matt Stafford. It should be a good one. I think Caleb will probably have a little bit more of a bounce back game against a poor Arizona defense. I think Seattle, though, is also very poor. there's too many things to click on in that little space for sleeper. Take some of them away, please. Stafford with Kupp and Puka back. I gotta think this one's gonna be probably a pretty tight battle between these two. So I'm gonna push that one. Battle of the running backs. You got Robinson and Cook versus Jacobs and Stevenson. I think that tougher matchups for Duncan in that one. I think talent-wise, we're probably about a wash, to be quite honest. But I'll go with Nick in that one just because of the better matchups. Battle of the wide receiver, you got Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Jaden Reed versus Terry McLaurin, Tyreek Hill, and Calvin Ridley. This one's pretty tight to me as well. I like Tyreek more than I like Garrett. I probably like Terry a little bit more than Marvin. I like Jaden more than Calvin, so we'll go with Duncan in that one. Tight ends, you got Kelsey versus Andrews. Anytime Nick starts Andrews, he doesn't have a good time. But Andrews has been good. I mean, last month, right? 11 points, 16, 20, 15. He's back on track. He doesn't need to leave Nick's starting lineup again unless he's hurt or on bye, in my opinion. And Kelsey, can he keep it up, right? I mean, he's kind of been a little bit up and down. He put a couple good games together, had a bad game. I think he's got a really good matchup. I think Andrew's projection is probably a little bit low, to be honest, but it's kind of what he has been doing. So, and with another mouth to feed now and Deontay, you never know. I'll push that one. This one on paper you'd think would be Kelsey, but I'm going to push it just because I'm not, Kelsey just gives me kind of weird vibes. And then battle of the flex, you got Chase Brown versus Cade Otton. To me, Chase Brown being projected for 15 points seems pretty high. I know he's now the RB1 there. He's kind of cooked Zach Moss. I understand why Nick's playing him, right? He sees a lot of red on his bench. He's trying to put green in. I get it, right? Doesn't always work out that way. I'm going to go with Cade in that one. Ultimately, I do think that Duncan wins. I think if he can just get a slight edge there at quarterback, which I think is more possible than not, and Tyreek can kind of blow up, then I think he's got a really good shot. And, he's going to have 2 Monday night guys, which is always fun to have. He's always going to have hope. So, anyways, that's all I got this week, fellas. It's Halloween tomorrow, right? Spooky season. Woo! So, if you guys are doing anything, please be safe. Please, don't do anything stupid. All right. If you do something stupid, at least be safe about it. All right. Anyways, other than that, good luck this week. And as always, we're pig.